All right, the big questions here. Who sponsored Poonam's death stunt? Who really paid Poonam Pandey to fake her own death? Death for publicity or to actually put the spotlight on cancer, on raising cancer awareness? Has Poonam really insulted cancer survivors is the big question here. I'm going to go straight to my colleague Anita, getting asked the very latest on that story right now. Anita, right from the very moment that this news came in yesterday, there was a lot of speculation given that Poonam Pandey is known to be somebody who's done these things in the past, played these pranks in the past as well. But a lot of people found it actually, and this is my personal experience, hard to believe that somebody would go to this extent, to in fact grab the headlines, isn't it, Anita?
Absolutely. This is something that no one was expecting. While I'm saying this, there are a lot of people who were expecting this.
Right.
When we spoke, when India Today got in touch with all her friends, close friends who she has worked with, they all couldn't believe the news. Somewhere down the line, everyone had this doubt whether this news is true or not. There were a section of people who didn't believe this news at all. And rightly so. We can see that today when she's come out and she's proclaimed that she's not dead, she's alive. She has made a mockery of this entire thing. It is done in a very disrespectful way, and it's not right to make a mockery of especially a very serious disease that we are talking about, especially when she wants to talk about something as serious as cervical cancer, and she's making mockery of that. That is not gone down right with people. People are not happy with whatever they have seen so far. Yesterday, the entire day, we were outside her house thinking that this news is true somewhere. We were giving a benefit of doubt to her and to her team, saying that there could be some truth behind this. However, we were let down badly through this gimmick that they did it. Whoever had advised this to her, it was not right. I think she should genuinely apologize, which she did, but it doesn't look like it comes from her heart.
Yes, it does. It does look like she's just telling people that that I caused some amount of panic and some amount of distress, but I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to come back to you in a moment from now. Ravira Bhardwaj is now joining us, an actor. Dr. Vidya Batra also joins us, and Dr. Safalata Bagwar. I'm going to thank all of you for your time here. Ravira, I want to begin by asking you, what was your reaction? Did you hear when you heard about this? Were you taken by surprise, shock? Did you think that she could be faking it? This could be a hoax?
So yeah, when I first heard the news, I woke up and I just saw like everywhere on social media that she's no more. Of course, I felt very bad about it. But then when I saw the cause, I was like, cervical cancer, like you just don't die in a day. Like it's like you go to the hospital, you get it checked, even if it's fourth stage, that it's a long-term process, because it's cancer. Cancer is not something that happens in a day and you die in a day.
Yes.
So it did feel like, it didn't feel like a prank at all. It, in fact, felt to me like maybe something else happened to her and it's a cover up. And, like I was more concerned about her safety, that how did it happen? And then, when this came out that it was a prank and it was just to raise awareness, I thought it was a very, very, low-level publicity stunt to gain traction and to create awareness about such a sensitive issue of cervical cancer, because that only happens to women, because we have cervix. And to raise awareness, you should tell people about the vaccination instead of faking your own death, just to gain some traction out of it. And I think it's a very low level that she stooped to as an actor, as an influencer, just to gain some, engagement.
Yes,
on her
low
posts.
level publicity. I want to bring in our doctors here now. Dr. Vidya, for example, I want to ask you that the idea here was to create awareness. I think there was a lot more misinformation, a lot of panic, a lot of speculation about whether, the death could have been because of a drug overdose. There was some news articles suggesting that all kinds of things, domestic abuse. Did it just take away from the cause? Cervical Cancer Awareness Month is what we commemorated in the month of January. The government has just announced that we encourage vaccination for girls as young as 9. But did, Poonam Pandey just take away from the cause, is what I want to ask you. Dr. Bhatt.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. At the outset, can you hear me?
Yes,
Am I
can.
audible?
Please go ahead,
Yeah,
Dr. Bhatt. Yes.
Yeah. See, just as Ms. Bharadwaj said, that cervical cancer is not something which happens in a day.
Right.
And it is no more a disease which will make a woman die immediately. Okay. There is a lot of treatment and advancement. And also there is a lot of improvement in screening. So somebody who is in a high profile lifestyle it doesn't happen just like that. There is white discharge, there is blood stain discharge, then they can go for an examination, pap smears are taken, then there is colposcopy and biopsy, diagnostic procedures. After that, we see women coming in stage 4. Now it is very less, we would see this some 25, 30 years back when women came with stage 4 disease, which involved the adjacent organs. But now it is no more like that. Women are aware. Women know that there is some kind of abnormal discharge. They come to the doctor, they show. And there is so many modalities of treatment which can prevent cervical cancer.
Okay, but the big question here is whether this generated awareness or not. That was the ultimate motive, I believe, because I did speak firsthand with the PR team of this entire campaign, and they did say that, that was what we wanted to talk about. But, Ravira, I want to bring you in here. I want to understand from you, Ravira, do you actually even for once believe that this was... because Poonam Pandey wanted to create awareness, this was, something that she did not for the lure of money. Do you believe that?
Nowhere in my mind I thought that this campaign was for awareness or it was a campaign at all. I actually thought that she died. And because I've met her in real life.
No, Ravira, I'm asking you, now do you think she did it for money? Or was it just because she wanted to create awareness, or this was because she got maybe money to promote this?
I think definitely money, because I think no one can do this other than, make you do this. I think money is a very powerful weapon.
Right.
So I think she was a victim of a lot of money, and she created such a havoc in the industry by claiming her fake death, and which is at any point of time is wrong. So yeah, I think it's purely for money and not for the awareness, because awareness things actually taken a very different direction where people actually talk about the awareness and not this whole PR stunt, and then you talk about awareness.
Yes, be with us. I'm just going to come back to you. Dr. Bagmar, I want to bring you in this conversation. You are an oncologist. There needs to be just so much more to be done and said about diseases like cervical cancer, for example. In India, there is a lot of chatter around breast cancer, but not cervical cancer. Now, HPV, the virus that causes this, often is affecting men and younger boys as well in different other ways. The idea here was to create awareness. I want to ask you, has this, even for a percent, created awareness around cervical cancer? Or has just Poonam Pandey managed to grab the headlines? That's what she's achieved.
Thank you for inviting me. And it did not create any awareness. It was just publicity, cheap publicity stunt, and actually insult of oncology of cancer patients. So like from the time when we heard the news, it was total fake, because a patient who is stage 4 cervical cancer, which we haven't seen for last many years, because it is usually diagnosed in early stages. And as Dr. Vidya said, that we haven't seen it last 10, 20 years or so, stage 4 cervical cancer, only when the patient is under follow-up and then disease progresses, patient is not responding to the treatment. That is the only time when stage 4 comes and the patient dies. And those deaths are very painful deaths. So the moment we heard about it for our oncology group, it is like it's 100% fake, because cervical cancer never kills the patient as instantaneously.
Obviously, for that matter, isn't it, Dr. Bagmar? Even any other cancer. I mean, this is so terrible that we have to, talk like this about a patient suffering from cancer. We all have had family members, loved ones friends who've in fact gone through this disease, and cancer is painful. The road to recovery is also very difficult. If a patient passes away, succumbs to cancer, that is worse for the family. It isn't easy. Like, she was putting out videos just 3 days ago of having a good time. I mean, to me, and I'm somebody who covers health, I'm a medical journalist, I thought it was stupid. I thought it was outright stupid at the outset, isn't it, Dr. Bagmar?
Yes, yes. And she used the breaking the first news thing, which is there everywhere in the social media.
Well, absolutely. You know, Ravira, I want to ask you this. There was this discussion in our newsroom essentially about this this entire breaking news, and we were obviously thinking if this is some publicity stunt or not. And when we did go to the story, we did say that her manager claims she's passed away. India today has not been able to independently verify, and we said that repeatedly. So we were responsible in our reportage. I want to ask you, the discussion that we were having was that life is fake. You know, those who in fact are just living and dying for publicity can do all kinds of things. That a celebrity's death announcement has come as a shock, not because we are, of course we were upset, we were feeling bad about this entire episode, but we were in disbelief because of the image that influencers have created for themselves, that they could just be doing anything for publicity and money. Ravira, isn't this tragic?
I think this is very, very tragic that you stoop to this level, that you fake your own death just for traction on social media. I'm sure her engagement rate today on social platforms must be too high, but is it really worth it? That's what, we have to draw a line between actually promoting, influencing. This is way too low of a level of any kind, because now, God forbid, if something actually happens to her, I think the entire India is not going to believe her. And that will be more tragic towards her. So I really feel that the influencer should draw a line between understanding that, there is a level to which we can influence, and we should, and money should not really pave your way towards such sort of publicity stunts that, you regret it for the rest of your life.
Yes, Dr. Vidya Bhat, I want to ask you, a lot of people on social media, since this generated a lot of chatter on social media, have spoken about the fact that, we've lost our father, we've lost our mother, we've lost our sister, brother, loved one to cancer. And this was absolutely not cool. To survivors of cancer or to family members who've lost their loved ones because of this dreaded disease, really, this was terrible, wasn't it, Dr. Bhatt?
Yeah, it is terrible to lose somebody loved and who has been with you for some cancer. It is a terrible thing, but let me highlight that cervical cancer, when identified or when diagnosed early, has 100% survival rate.
Absolutely.
Especially I'm talking about stage 1. And surgical treatment, we have had so many patients who have undergone surgical treatment at stage 1 and stage 2, and they are doing exceptionally well when they come for follow-up. So when you say that a patient has died of cancer, it should be either a very aggressive disease, that means which will progress very fast,
yes,
and it may not even respond to any kind of treatment. Okay. That is any kind of radiotherapy, chemotherapy. So that kind of aggressive cancers are comparatively less as you see the general cancer. So when you take 100 patients with cancer, the aggressive ones may be just 15 to 20%. Okay. But 80% of the time, we are able to give them a quality life, a treatment for their disease, and some become completely, like breast cancer identified early, CA endometrium, which is all identified at an early stage, can be treated. Any cancer concerned to female genital organs. The same thing goes through even male cancers like prostate, kidney, and liver also. To some extent, we are able to sort of treat them.
Okay. Dr. Bagmar, I want to ask you that some people may actually just turn around and say that, okay, forget about the publicity aspect of it. You are discussing cervical cancer, aren't you? So what's wrong? we're all discussing cervical cancer. The fact of the matter is that it generated a buzz around the disease. So do you feel somewhere, deep down that maybe it did in a way at least generate a conversation around cervical cancer? Because I'll tell you, there is a stigma attached, there is less awareness around cervical cancer. Most people don't even know that there is a vaccine for cervical cancer that can, or cervical, to prevent HPV infections. And cervical cancer, of course, is a result of an HPV infection. So there is chatter around it. That chatter was what was really required. You as an oncologist, do you believe that has been achieved in a way?
Yes, in a way, yes, it has achieved some chatter. Like basically, cervical cancer is a cancer of rural India. So it is not usually seen in the urban cities. Very few patients come from the urban places or affluent places. So that's why it has not got that publicity as a breast cancer, which has got the publicity as such. So rather than giving the further air to this stunt, I would like to use this platform that every girl child, she should get a cervical cancer vaccine between 9 to 14 years, as it is approved, and it is almost 99% preventable. So this is a cancer which is caused by HPV virus, and that is preventable 99% of the times. And in fact, even if the girl child is more than 14 years of age, so from 14 years to 26 years also, it is very useful. And in fact, at AIMS, where I did my studies, there a study was done that even if the benefit reduces, it can be given till 45 years of age. So even when I was studying, I got my cervical cancer vaccine at the age of 33. Whatever benefit it gives, I took that time. So this is how. So it should be given between 9 to 14 years. And in fact, in US and in Western countries, it is also given to boys as well.
Yes, exactly.
Because with the HPV vaccine, it is oral cancer is associated because it is HPV virus. So anal warts, anal cancer, and oral cancers, because 50% of the oral cancer in Western country is because of HPV. So between this, we are right now, we are not including boys in our country, but then it should be given, because I have decided I will give my boys the vaccine.
Yes, absolutely. Because I think, the doctors on the panel must create awareness about it, that HPV can affect even boys. So it's not just women. Now, of course, men don't have a cervix, but then oral cancer, cancer of the anus, genital warts, all of these problems are caused by HPV. I would want Dr. Bhatt to in fact take that question. Just throw a little more light on HPV, since the awareness for around cervical cancer and the human papillomavirus is so important. Dr. Bhatt.
Now it has been 100% proved that cervical cancer is because of HPV. We were all these years doing pap smears. Now, pap smear, you may not get a lot of information, but anybody who has chronic cervicitis and who has been suffering from white discharge, we have switched over to HPV testing. So that is also very important.
Which is a DNA testing, Dr. Bhatt?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is a cervical. Yes, DNA testing of the cervix, which we send the smear to for his HPV testing. Once the patient comes positive, you have to treat her further with a biopsy and then, of course, a loop excision or whatever you want to do. But before that, please give her, if she is younger, in the younger age group, that is below 45 years, though they say that it should be at a very early age, at least for the benefit of doubt, you can give them cervical cancer vaccination and then, of course, treat her for the HPV infection. That is one aspect. And of course, now since so much of discussion is going on in the national media, I think the schools and the government schools and the college, that is the PU level, everybody should have awareness about HPV vaccine, and even the students can start taking HPV vaccine. That is at the age of from 12 onwards. I have a lot of queries which have come to me, especially in this cancer awareness month, that should we take cervical cancer, and I encourage them. It has been included in the pediatric vaccination schedule also that HPV vaccine should be given to girls. Maybe in future, we should also think of vaccinating the boys.
That's
But
right.
at present, we have to vaccinate more and more girls so that this is 100% curbed, and we will have nobody in future succumb to this disease.
Well, absolutely. The doctors have in fact put enough light on this disease, on what should be done, and I'm really grateful that we're having this discussion on HPV. I'm going to give in the last words to Ravira. Ravira, what I want to ask you is this, that I was just thinking to myself, that there have been extreme campaigns all over the world for various reasons. For example, PETA does some extreme campaigns. Climate activists do some extreme campaigns. This, in my opinion, is an extreme campaign in that sense. Do you in anywhere, think that maybe we can, sort of in a way forgive Poonam for doing this, at least for this time, and maybe genuinely she could have been interested in putting the spotlight on cervical cancer. And just give her the benefit of doubt for just some time. Ravira.
You know what? I think it's not an ethical campaign. That's what I'm trying to tell you, and that's what my opinion stands. Yes, she did, I think, somewhere spread awareness regarding it. But there are some ethics and morals that we follow in this world, and she has surpassed that with this campaign. Faking death is not a joke. It's not a prank. And people losing. I lost my grandfather to cancer. People who lost people with cancer, for them, it's definitely not a joke. And there are n number of ways of spreading awareness. Like she could actually have gone to patients who have suffered through it or whatever it is. It would have been a much more positive campaign, and people would have loved her for that. But like faking your death with something that is it's actually a very sensitive kind of a cancer because of the taboo that a lot of female and over the years we have carried. But you can definitely spread this awareness in a much more positive and a better way. Yeah, she did bring up the chatter, but I feel it was not ethical.
She brought up the chatter, but then at the end of the day, she faked her death, her demise. I agree. Polio campaigns in the country have been beautiful, with just so many Bollywood stars talking about it. The shingles, for example, Mr. Bachchan speaks about it all the time. AIDS, in fact, HIV, AIDS in the past, in India and outside of India, have had some beautiful campaigns around the disease and breaking the stigma associated with many of these diseases. And I think that also could have been really a way forward for Poonam if she wanted to put this spotlight. This was going too far is generally the opinion of a lot of people. I'm going to thank all of you joining us for joining us here on the broadcast and putting out your perspectives there, and a doctor especially also for putting the spotlight on cervical cancer and the human papillomavirus.